Hello, 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 hello. Good afternoon on this spring forward kind of day. I am Harbinger of Tea. Just doing some crafting today. We are going to be, I don't know if I'll 100% finish, but hopefully I will get much closer to finishing since this is for a birthday gift this week. So sorry about the long intro. Usually I only go 5 minutes today because of daylight savings time. My whole schedule's been a little off. I've been pushing it a little bit farther than normal, or I woke up an hour later than normal, or what is considered an hour later now. Anyhow, so doing my Sunday cleaning and then getting ready for stream just took me a minute. But we are jumping into this. We're just gonna get started. So what I do, you can kind of see it here. Uh, this is a Ziploc bag. It prevents the sticky, because there's an edge of stickiness along the craft. And so what I'm doing is I'm preventing, because on the bottom I got a little bit of cat hair and fluff from my shirt and things like that end up getting stuck to the bottom. So I'm doing the Ziploc bag to kind of prevent that from happening. And then what's going to happen eventually, for the gift portion, is I'm going to put a mat around that part anyhow, so it's not a big deal, but it's so I don't stick to it either. um and then and then I will be putting, hopefully, in a frame or something, to finish it off. And I post pictures on my Discord, um, of all the progress I make over time. So, like, every day I did a little bit, because I think when I left you, it was at the very bottom. Like, I did like 6 rows because I had to label them all and put them into these like little things so I knew where everything is. But now I'm kind of jamming on it. We'll put the music back on and we'll get started. I was told I need to turn up my overall sound a little bit to make it a little bit better. So hopefully that makes me a little bit more visible. Ooh, I am so shiny. I wonder if I can fix that. Real-time fixing. Yep, that's not gonna do it. Oh, I'll do this old school way. Turn that light down a little bit. Near me. Nearby, not necessarily near me. She's not always in her seat. That's her kind of favorite place to hang out when I'm gaming or doing anything like that. Yeah, I'm not as reflective. Okay, no. And this is why they're all in individual bags, because my cat decided to make a showing on the table and she's knocking into everything. Even though she tries to be very careful. She's so stealthy. Oh, she just knocked over my extras. Okay. Thanks, doll. This is why you don't come up on the table when I'm doing stuff. Tail flicking back and forth. Fighting. Alright, so we'll get started. I'm doing the color, and I just, like I was doing before, just kind of rock in with 2 rows at a time. um, hidden colors is what I'm gonna call it. If you can pick up any noise on my mic, it's because my neighbors are blaring their music. We have floral. I'm not sure they understand yet. F is next. Thought about doing the diamonds upside down at one time, just to make it easier to get on the top part. But I'm like, nah, with enough. With the zip lock, it doesn't really, you know, even though I'm leaning over it, it's not a big issue. Or as big of an issue. I was looking at other crafts to do. I was looking at different Legos. Might be fun to do one of the flower bouquets in the future. I was looking at clay modeling. I've always really wanted to get into like clay modeling, like armatures and stuff like that. I always thought that would be really fun. It might be interesting to do. I can't draw, but I definitely have things in my head. So it might be one could question. Like I can if I take a, like I can't easily sketch something. I think it's my biggest issue. I can't like make what's in my head be on paper other than in writing form, which I do write on the side. Nothing that you would have ever read, mostly because it's only been published once in the college book, when it was a poem. And that was a whole snafu, because the editor of that book decided that they liked the way they wrote something better than the way I wrote it. I discussed it with them. No, I would like it the way I wrote it. And I was very irked. Because it was a college paper, it wasn't, and it was a college poetry book, like short stories and poetry book kind of thing. Very irked with something that wasn't wrong to change. It wasn't like grammatically incorrect, it's just the way I liked it. And they felt that they knew better. And then the professor, when they published it, and I was so excited to see it, when they published it, the professor decided to make I made the executive decision to go with this version of event, this version of the thing, which really put me off as someone else having control over my creative works. Which is one of the reasons I do things like stream, where I can control what goes out. And things of that nature. But that's really irksome. I don't know why I even thought of that today. But I did. Essentially, the editor just got to decide what was the right creative and artistic move for me, and I was angry about it. And the professor said, "This is what happens in editing all the time. They make editorial decisions," and I'm like, But this wasn't really, this wasn't like a grammar error. This wasn't like, you know, that kind of thing. That kind of put me off quite a bit. Because I didn't... It's just the way that they liked it. And I'm like, it's just bizarre. I'm like, no one should have that much control over what you do. Creatively, in that sense. Like, I can understand some editorial decisions, like, I've made an active choice not to cuss on this stream because of YouTube policies about cursing and this and that. Like, that's an editorial decision that I make that makes sense. It wasn't anything like that. It was phrasing on things, and I just got a text message. Just gonna write that back to my mom. Who was confirming my eye doctor appointment. If you didn't know it, I wear glasses. And I want a new set. It's time for a new set of glasses. And so you gotta go to your doctor and get a new prescription, although I don't think my eyes have changed at all. We'll verify that, but my eye doctor likes to dilate every time, so I gotta have a driver. Yeah, so if I ever write anything again, it'll probably be self-published. I hope I can find someone to edit it nicely. But yeah, that's why, well, I never really wanted to be a newspaper person, but it definitely put me off being a newspaper person, because you can write a story that would be neutral, and the editor can come in and change it however they like, and it still has your name on it, which I think is kind of wrong. It can be neutral, it can be one-sided, the other-sided. And I understand if you're writing something that's neutral and they want to change it for their own values, or this is how they approach things, it just wouldn't be the place for me to work. And that's kind of... It's really hard to tell nowadays between editorials and actual, like, news and what people prescribe and don't prescribe, which is why I strangely watch a lot of news on Philip DeFranco, but he also has a lean. He's a little bit more, hey, here's my lean. But I appreciate his, I'll say, relative neutralism. He really does try to get the facts out, which I appreciate. And that's why I watch a lot of Latu. I watch a lot of trial coverage. I really enjoy it, because I find that a lot of trials are covered poorly in news media and things like that. Mostly for headline reasons, like you want a good headline, so you run with the story that has the best headline, not necessarily because there's a never-ending fight to be on top of the newspaper world, which is weird. But I understand it from, you have to pay, you have to pay money for it. It costs money to run a newspaper, it costs money to run a news program. So you do have to run ad spots and things of that nature. And again, don't like other people controlling my own vision. Hey, Cameron! How you doing? talkative today, but I have nothing of substance to talk about. Oh, I was talking about trial coverage and why I love it so much. Because I like watching the actual trial. I find the legal stuff really interesting. It's a reason that you go to law school for sure, because it's not an easy thing. But I enjoy watching lawyers, and you can find different lawyers of all sorts. Defense attorneys, criminal prosecutors, civil attorneys, entertainment attorneys. You can find all kinds of stuff like that on Law 2, where they'll go on and talk about trials that are going on, or motions in court, lawsuits, things of that nature. And it's really interesting because actually having someone sit there and explain to you, like if you're watching a court case and you see an objection happen, and the attorney sitting there and explaining to you why that objection is the way it is, why that rule is the way that it is, kind of thing. It's quite fascinating why you can't bring, like, generally speaking, you can't bring hearsay into a courtroom. There are exceptions to every rule, as for the way life works, but in general, you can't bring things like hearsay, which is, so I heard this thing from this person. No, you bring that person in to speak on what they said to someone. You can't just sit there and, well, I heard this person. There are exceptions to every rule, but generally speaking, it's considered hearsay, and that's kind of the right way to do things. Like, you shouldn't be able to speak for someone else, because maybe what you heard was different than what they actually said. Because our minds are real bad. I don't know if you know this, but memory is absolutely awful. Human memory. It was really funny because I once worked at Target overnight doing stocking. A friend of mine did it. She had a blast. It totally wrecked my sleep schedule. But I was already an insomniac at like 13. I had a problem with sleeping. Because I've always had a problem with the sleep. So I go through phases where I just can't sleep. But my friend had gotten a job for like a month, and so I'm like, hey, I'm gonna ship out and do the job. But I really quite enjoyed working overnight at Target. I don't even think they do it as much anymore, but I would stock shelves at night, and we'd start at midnight. By the time I left, they were starting at like 4 o'clock in the morning, which is no bueno. I'm not an early riser. I'm a late stayer upper. But I really enjoyed it. Oh, my Stream Elements just posted something. Nice. Cool. Only, I don't know, 26 minutes into the stream, and then Stream Elements is like, hey, I'm gonna announce that you're live. Cool. That's okay. But I really enjoyed working overnight, so I worked there forever. This goes back to something that I was talking about. I got distracted by Stream Element. Which is usually not what you want in a bot. But that's okay. The Z. But I'll turn on, generally when I'm working on this, outside of stream time, to make sure I could get it done in time for your birthday. I just put booked on tape, and we're like YouTube, the trial coverage. They just finished up the Rush trial against on that court case. She was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter. They haven't done her sentencing yet, but it was a very interesting case to watch because every jurisdiction deals with rules of evidence a little bit differently, which is those objections that you hear in court and stuff like that. And it was interesting to watch how New Mexico does it because that's where the trial was held. She was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter um, by a jury. Um, and it was interesting when the jurors did talk out afterwards. And it turns out he is a CDL, so commercial driver's license. He holds a CDL, and he worked in Los Alamos, which is a nuclear power plant facility. And so people are very aware in the area that they're holding the trial about safety and safety checks and doing things the right way and stopping doing what you're doing if you find something unsafe. And that's essentially what her job as armor on the set. It was live rounds. There were multiple live rounds found on set, and it's her job to kind of like check the weapon and make sure that what you put in is what you put in, because you can get killed by blanks. Brandon Lee was killed by a blank because there was a projectile in the gun, and I think she probably, from the evidence that we saw, checked the barrel, the thing that happened with Brandon Lee, quite significantly. But she checked the barrel of the gun, and made sure it wasn't dusted up and stuff like that, and made sure there's no obstructions in it, so if you do fire a blank, it doesn't become a projectile. But the problem was that she wasn't actually checking the ammo like she was supposed to, and they had a very good armorer come on to the state side and testify, an expert witness, and he talked about, and he explained how he once found live ammo on set when he came on to a project after the project had already started. He came on because the armorer got sick, and he shut down the production when he found the live ammo, at least the armory part of the production. Like, you can't use guns in this scene until I get everything inventoried and everything, and get rid of these live rounds on set, because that's literally their job, to make sure everyone's safe. When you think of guns on a movie set, especially like an old Western or even a newer like John Wick film, those are real guns. They fire. And the reason they fire is because they fire things like blanks. So they allow you to create a puff of smoke and make it more real. Because people can tell the difference between real ammunition and fake ammunition. Or real guns versus like replicas or fake guns. Which is why you use real. And if it's done right, which it has been until this incident, I mean, there's been like no other tragic things until this incident. Since Brandon Lee, which was a crow in the 90s. So it's generally done very well. People take it very seriously. And I really admire the people that do that job, because their first consideration is safety. And going into it, because I had prior knowledge about this case, I've been watching court coverage since the incident happened. Essentially, I kind of already felt like she had some criminal liability when it comes to what happened on the set, just because of her role on the set. And she probably shouldn't have, they shouldn't have hired her, because she had very little experience. But she also wasn't really prepared or ready to do the job that she needed to do. And that is a problem. And I really do hope that they create some industry standardized, like you need at least this much time working as an assistant armorer or something to that effect prior to being the lead armorer on any set, period. Or the only armorer, because there are small roles like where they only use a gun in one scene or something, and so you'll have like a day armor, and they're only coming in to really protect for that day, or protect the set and the people on it for that day. But I don't think you should be able to do that if you don't have some amount of training and specifications. And I really hope that it becomes a national standard required to be like a union set, which is what this was. And that's kind of the standards are set because of the unions, because you have SAG and and the Directors Guild, all the guilds and stuff. So they have the most power to do something about it, and I really hope that they do make sure that this never happens again, because someone lost their life. It wasn't, I mean, the people didn't mean to make it happen, but you were so ridiculously negligent in your job, where there were multiple misfires on set, there was live ammo on set, and no one caught it, and no one stopped filming, and no one, you know, there were flags that were raised to the point where the union representatives came out on set, but it was just not a good situation overall. Which is a bummer. They got real lucky that no one else has gotten hurt since Brandon Lee. And I think it's mostly because the majority of armorers take their job very seriously, which is good. And how it should be, because you are the best hope for nothing bad to happen on a set. I just realized I missed one. I'm just gonna hit that one real quick. Yeah, when you only have a few of one flavor of diamond, I usually just do it straight, unless the black canister is completely full where I can't easily do it, then I won't, but I will usually just work straight out of the, when it's only a couple, I'll work straight out of the black canister. I hope they fix the daylight savings time thing. I know there was a bipartisan bill to like fix it, that we'd have no more daylight. I think it's that we have like just a standard time and get rid of daylight savings time, since it's not as necessary as it used to be. Oh, I'm missing out. I just keep missing those. So I didn't see it. She has very few in there, so I just usually generally just do it out of the black box. Oh, you silly, silly camera. Actually, nothing good in that one. I guess the two for worked out. Maybe. Okay. I'll miss letters all the time, it seems. That is okay. Major hill. We'll figure out what I'm gonna do next time. Alright, and P2. As far as different types of craft, if you have any ideas, feel free to leave them in the comments. I do have one mosaic piece I'm going to be doing in the future. I already bought that one. It's coming in. I have some sun catchers I could do next time. Next time is St. Patty's Day, I believe. What's today? The 10th? 7 days from now? Yeah, that'd be St. Patrick's Day. And it's funny because with me facing this way, that's the chair she chooses. Whichever direction I'm facing, she wants to make sure I can see her at all times. She's very strict like that. So if I was facing toward my computer, which is over here, which is why I look over here all the time, she would be in her chair over there. But because I'm not facing that direction, always have the enemy in view or something. I'm sure it's some cat instinct, but I did notice it, which is funny. So I'm just like, what? Why are you always that? Oh, it's gotta be this way, whichever direction I'm facing. If I'm sitting up. If I'm in bed, then she'll just lay on my feet, so I can't get away. I trip over her. Sometimes if I'm lucky, she won't just sit on my feet, she'll curl up next to me, and that's the best. Because then she just like curls into a ball right next to me. And these last one. Good. 2 levels. Got this move. I don't need to move this to block this one. I usually wait till I go through 2 sets before I move the Ziploc out. Okay. Start left to right, and I don't know if that's just because the way I read. You know, that's how our lettering starts. And so that's why I go left to right. But I just always feel like I'm more comfortable doing it that way. I'm a typewriter. So the book I'm reading for my book club that I host is Where the Crawdads Sing. Crawdads. Where the Crawdads Done Sing. Only reason I'm talking like that is because it's very marshy, southern, swamp kind of. Hence the crawdads in the book. And I've been listening it to Audible, or via Audible, because sometimes my brain is like, can't read, can only listen to things. So depending on how my brain's feeling that week, I will rock the Audible book. It helps for whatever reason. So far, so good. The book's sad in a lot of ways, because the character, there's no real spoilers. This is how the story starts. I haven't finished it either, so I don't know. But the character's mom walks out, and it's about, like, she's dealing with the grief of that. And then, and she's very, very young and doesn't really understand. And her whole family basically walks out on her. She's just kind of barely hanging in there. They try to get her to the school. This is all back in, like, 1950s era. And a boy is nice to her, and I'm at the point where the character's name is Tanner, but I'm not positive. But Tanner is nice to her, and he's, like, helping her teach her to read because she didn't go to school because essentially they made fun of her. And she's just kind of overwhelmed. Or at least that's how I kind of read it, about his kindness to her, because she just hasn't really seen. She has a drunk dad that's in the picture, but he's always drunk, other than, like, at one point he's not drunk in the show. But or in the movie. In the book, there's one point where he's not drunk and they have a nice time. But that ends, which is sad. But this girl has very little human interaction and positive human interaction with people. And people abandon her and do all kinds of sad things. So this guy starts giving her feathers, and she's very attached to birds, because they're the only family that she really knows. She hangs out with them on the beach near her shack of a house and stuff like that. So it's just it makes just sad and happy for humanity, because there's sadness that she had to go through that, but the happiness of finding that, just those little joys. And then apparently there's some kind of murder of Chase Andrews, who is the main football hero. That's happening in like 1969 is when that murder happens, and we're talking of her growing up in 1952. So I don't know if she kills him or something happens, and I'm not sure. I'm not there yet, but they haven't tied it together yet in the book, and it'll be interesting to see where that goes. But I enjoy listening to the audible book of it. The person who does the reading does a quite good job. There have been other books where I, even with a good voice acting, I just cannot get into. Like Dune, which everyone loves, and I can't. I don't know what it is. It hurts my brain. But I'm also not a big Lord of the Rings fan, which is weird because I'm a super nerd. So that might be why Dune is so hard for me. I'm not a huge fan of books that are verbose for the sake of being verbose in a lot of ways. And I know it sounds awful saying that about something like Lord of the Rings. My brain just needs bite-sized chunks to deal with it. And I don't need to know the different colors of grass unless it's important to the plot. And I understand making a world building and play D&D and stuff like that. And I'm not even saying I'm good at it, but sometimes I definitely feel like things are verbose for the sake of being verbose. Also, why I don't play the Stephen King books. Less about, I'm not a huge horror fan anyhow. It's less about horror, more about verboseness. Some people love them. I was just talking about this yesterday, where my friend, I was just talking online yesterday about this, like, not a great, hey, if you just give it 2 seasons, then you can really get into the show. Whoa, wait, what? It gets really good in 3 seasons. I have to watch 3 bad seasons and then jump into a good season? And I'm just like, I'm not. You kind of have to get me from the jump. I have other things I want to do. Not enough time in the day, kind of thing. I don't know. It's just really hard for me to jump into a series. And it's okay that not everything is for everyone. There are plenty of people that love Lord of the Rings and Stephen King and love that kind of thing, and I just don't happen to be one of them. That's okay, because not everything is built for me to like or care about. There are many things that I do like and care about. I like real weird stuff. Maybe I like sci-fi better than I like. I like Farscape. I like Doctor Who. Oh, the 10th Doctor is my Doctor, although I really love the 9th Doctor as well. But the 9th Doctor was only a season, so even though I love him, the 10th Doctor is my Doctor. Plus, I love David Tennant in almost anything he does. He's phenomenal in everything I've seen him as, even as an evil guy. In Jessica Jones, I ended up watching that series, and he's so freaking good as an evil guy, and as the demon, and he was a demon in the Neil Not Neil Diamond. Gaiman. Show with Martin Sheen. He's great. He's such a good actor. I love Farscape, which is just weird sci-fi. Maybe because I grew up and my dad was a huge fan of Star Trek, Next Gen mostly, and he really enjoyed that. So I'm probably a product of my family uprising, raising something where it's hard. But so, but generally, maybe it's also because I suffer from depression, so I don't love watching horror. I don't know if that has any correlation, or it's just me. But reality is already scary enough, and I also have anxiety. But reality is already scary enough. I don't really need something to scare me. That might be what it is. So I generally go for the rom-com and I don't mind if it's something that makes you think, even in what it's doing. But like, the dark and gritty for the sake of being dark and gritty and edgy isn't my favorite. At least not anymore. Maybe when I was 13. It was really great. But I think with the way the world has been lately, it, you know, the bad time, it's just nice to have the feel-good movies to entertainment for entertainment's sake. And while I'm not a reality TV fan, I can watch some and understand why people enjoy it, but I don't have cable, so I'm not prone to turn any of it on. And honestly, I'd rather get my drama from legal court documents, because then it has some potential significance toward other people, and like, drama needs to stay 100 feet away from me at all times. Like, I'm not a drama person. I don't really like drama. I avoid conflict to my detriment sometimes, most of the time. So I avoid, but I'm not a huge drama person. So I stay away from reality TV shows generally, because what makes those shows so good is the drama, is the tea, is that kind of stuff. And I'm like, unless it gets to the legal side of things, it amounts to enough to take legal action and get to some kind of thing where you can follow it in the legal system, I just don't really care about it. And it's funny because me and my mother have a disagreement about the legal system. She hates that it's just whoever tells the best story. Sometimes, like, if this lawyer can tell a better story than this lawyer, then those people win. But to be perfectly honest, it's just being able to explain to people in a way that makes sense. The situation that happened. This person shot this person, and while you don't have to give motive, it could be for, like, drugs or money or one of those things. And that's really why the story helps. It helps create the narrative that this is why this happens. It helps people to understand the narrative. For the everyday layman person who isn't an investigative FBI agent or investigator, um, it puts it into their hands in a way that is manageable, because you have the right to trial by your peers, but your peers aren't necessarily, if you're talking about a doctor that's on trial for doing malpractice, they're not all going to be doctors. In fact, most likely they're not going to be doctors if the jury voir dire process, you know, the defense did their thing. Like, it's going to be just a group of, 18 to 90-year-olds just hanging out and listening to people talk about what happened. So you guys get to be the jury gets to be the finders of fact. They're the ones that decide what are the true facts of the case. Did the doctor actually perform malpractice, or did he do what was right in the with the information he had at the time that he made the actions that he did, or inactions that he did? Would it didn't make sense in the get-go, or in the situation? So you have to be able to explain it to an engineer, a sanitation truck driver, a nurse. Well, a nurse would probably have better understanding, but you have to be able to explain it to people that don't necessarily do. You have to explain what an armor does, and make what she didn't do, her negligence, to the point that someone died because of it. You have to explain that to people, and the only way to really explain that to people is to tell a story. Like, that's the only way to really make the majority of people understand something, is to explain it in a story-like fashion. Because otherwise it's just mumbo jumbo. It's just a bunch of mumbo jumbo that you don't understand and can't understand because you didn't go to school for that, or you don't use a gun, so you have no idea that or you're never on a movie set, so you have no idea that there's blank ammo and crimping on a bullet and all that kind of stuff. So you have to put all the pieces together and then tie it into what is essentially a story to explain it. And while I think that is normal and okay, my mom hates it. She thinks it's too subjective. It doesn't, and she hates it. And I'm just like, but there's no other real way to do that. If you want peers, you could have a judge decide your fate, but judges get it wrong sometimes, and judges can be unfair and get corrupted. It's a lot harder to corrupt 12 people than it is to corrupt one person, right? So, especially over time, because a lot of judges, once they become a judge, they're a judge, until they retire. They don't go backwards in their career. That doesn't make any sense for them. So, like, if someone gets to them in some way, shape, or form, which I hope doesn't happen, but doesn't mean it can't happen. And so having your peers be a finder of fact is great. It's they get to decide what's reasonable. They get to decide, was it reasonable to not check the ammo in a gun as an armor on set? Was it reasonable? Do I believe that Murdaugh was seen on video by his son taking a Snapchat and then ran up to the house and the people got killed, and he just took off in his car and went and saw his mom, and he didn't hear anything or do anything? It doesn't make any sense to me. That seems unreasonable. That he wouldn't have at least heard something happening, even on a sprawling estate. Even with, and he wouldn't have checked on his family if he was planning to have his wife go with him and she wasn't answering her phone. Like, it would take 3 seconds. And he never really explained that hole in his story in the story of what happened that night. He never really explained how he could be potentially within 5 minutes, or they didn't poke a big enough hole in that time frame. Like, no, they were actually more likely killed. They didn't bring any experts on their side to say no, based on lividity and this and that. They actually looked like they were killed when he was at his mother's house. That would be a different story. They didn't bring that evidence to the table. Because they did have a crazy coroner that worked on the body that used armpit detection, and it's just, that was their biggest. That was the defense's biggest ability to rebuff the prosecution's very strong argument that put him at the scene of the crime at the time. And it's because they had no. And while you don't have to bring an expert, you don't have to prove anything as defense, you do have to, if they make a really good point, you have to come back with something that shows why it's not a good point, why that doesn't make sense, why that doesn't work. And in his case, they didn't bring anything forward that was like that. And then you get into the differences between circumstantial evidence, and my mom's also a big proponent like that she would need more than circumstantial evidence to convict someone of something. And I'm like, well, it depends on the case, because if all your facts are circumstantial, like in the case of Murdaugh, all his facts were circumstantial. So they didn't even go for like a death penalty case in his, and I think that's smart, because it was all circumstantial evidence. They don't have any blood evidence. They don't have any like fingerprints on a gun, and the gun is most likely the bullet that killed him. They didn't have anything like that. But he also lied about the videotape, which was damning. Or lied until the videotape came out, and then he changed the story. Which means it's like, oh, well, then you were lying to begin with on your alibi for killing your wife and son. That does not make you look good unless you were honest and like, well, I was going to go have an affair with someone. Like, you gotta be honest with the jury, because they can tell. People can tell when you say one thing and then change your story later. It's like, it doesn't look great. Not a great look. But it was a circumstantial case, and my mom hates circumstantial evidence. I'm like, well, sometimes that's all the evidence you're going to get, because people hide their crimes. It's the nature of hiding your crime, or trying to get away with a crime, and you get rid of evidence. You take the guns, you bury them, you're potentially on some illicit substance during the shooting of Rust, and then you get rid of that substance. I mean, people do that so that they don't get charged with things like involuntary manslaughter or negligence and things of that nature. Well, negligence is civil, but anyhow, it's just very. So I'm like, if there's enough smoke, there's fire, generally speaking. Like the Murdaugh case theoretically should have had a retrial, even though I think he did it. I think the clerk's actions in that were just really, really bad, and were not in the service of justice, but of her own pocketbook in a lot of ways, which is unfortunate, because that's not what you want from your, clerks of courts, when they could potentially affect the outcome of someone's innocence or guilt, and affect the fact that they could potentially change someone's a jury's like determination, and then a person is in life because of a clerk being overly zealous in being an advocate when she's not supposed to be an advocate. She is just a facilitator of the court, making sure that people get fed and stuff like that. Like if and one of those jurors kind of did say she had a problem with the court clerk and that it wasn't right, what she was talking to her about. And that would, I mean, it was interesting. And I can see the point of the judge that made the determination, because based on the law that they have written there, it might be a law that they need to change, but based on the law that is currently written there, the juror, it has to have, so essentially the interference had to have actually changed the juror's mind, and when the judge asked that juror that had the issue, when she asked her, was it what Becky said or more of you talking in juror deliberations that affected your guilty verdict? And she said it was the jury deliberation part, which is 100% within the realm of 100% within the realm of what's supposed to happen between jurors. So you can't overturn because juries deliberate it. That's just what they do. So I can see with the way the law is written currently, that doesn't make sense. And to be perfectly honest, laws take a long time to change. And that's okay. They're meant to, because they don't go with the trendy thing. They don't go with, oh, this week we don't like some substance that was found in water. We don't like fluoride for some reason. Someone said there's something wrong with fluoride. We don't like it this week. Or alcohol. People are like, I don't like alcohol this week because it has no health benefits or something. Coffee. Let's call it coffee. Coffee has no health benefit. And so there's this hate against coffee. But you don't want people to just willy-nilly take it off the market, because the science that has been done was like not conclusive science kind of stuff. Like, it wasn't peer reviewed, it wasn't and even then, just because someone hates coffee this week doesn't mean that they'll hate coffee next week, because it changes. Those trends happen where, like, I don't know if you notice this, but it's kind of the meme of, is that K that I just did? Or G? Oh, oh no, I was talking and I got distracted and I don't know what this is. Well, they go into my extra pile. I hope I don't need them. That's what I do, and my cam's been off. I wonder how long. Getting into the ear part, which is cool. So many whys though. Mostly because I think the whole top of this thing is why. For the majority of it. Dang it. Yeah, we're done with this round. And this time we can move the... I can keep going on this round. I'm gonna move the ziplock up, but I think I'm okay. I do have to move my... Okay. My allergies are something atrocious this week. I also really like because when you're really in it and like looking at all the individual dots, you're like, ah, this isn't anything. It's literally like looking up at the screen. It's really nice. Is and taking like a step back and going, oh, I see it. The flowers are okay. They're not my favorite, but the fox itself turned out pretty good. So I'm really happy about that. I was a little nervous. Like, I don't know if this is gonna turn out quite nice, quite right. But the flowers aren't super defined in the original picture. So can't expect a ton. And after this, if I'm lucky, I'll get to play the weeklies on Phasmophobia. Because those are super challenging and kind of fun to play. I enjoy those. Because I'm not a real horror person, I really enjoy being like the Q, the person in the truck. We get going, oh, go this way, oh, go this way, oh, did this person die? Okay. So when I was playing Lethal Company, which if you don't know what Lethal Company is, it was real trendy toward the end of last year, and it was just it's still out, still fun. It's an early access game, so it's not a complete release yet, but you essentially land on a planet, and you're hired essentially to grab scrap off of these planets, get up to a quota. There's these monsters and bugs and different things that you run into. And I really enjoy being the person on the ship, essentially going, hey, turn left, here, let me open that door for you, here, let me do this or that, because you can access doors from the ship. So I really, once we figured that out, it was really fun to kind of be the person back at the superhero's helper, essentially. It would be the equivalent of a superhero's helper in like comic books. I'm the Alfred kind of person. And I really enjoy that. And so Phasmophobia, well, I do go inside or whatever, I'll be the first one to run out to the truck and like be like, nope, and that's a note for me. But I have a friend who's very good at the game and has gotten very high level very quickly. He's a bit of a min-maxer, and he will so he's very good at figuring stuff like that out. It's just his nature. And so he'll just like sit there and let the ghost, like he'll just tango with the ghost, and it's so much fun for him. And I'm like, nope, nope. Big note for me. But he enjoys tangoing essentially with the ghosts and like seeing how they react and how they act, and like steps and stuff like that, and learning all the different tricks to figuring out what type of ghost it is without actually necessarily needing the evidence. And that's kind of what the weekly challenges are, is like figuring stuff out with harder constraints. And as you level up in Phasmophobia, you get less and less evidence and stuff like that, and you have to kind of figure it out without any of that. So it's a fun puzzle game. Again, I find myself pulled more toward multiplayer games because it's a social activity for me. It's funny, I'm also pulled toward horror games, even though I'm not a horror fan. Or a fan of that genre, generally speaking. Because I think also with horror, it's one of two things will happen. Either I will fall asleep in the theater, which I did with one of the Saw movies, because it's so boring, I just fall asleep, and I don't find it scary at all, or I'll be so terrified I'll be up for like 5 days. Any shark movie will do that to me, even if it's not a horror movie, because I don't like sharks. No, let me rephrase that. Not that I don't like sharks. I am just aware of them, and I think I should stay away from them. And those will give me nightmares guaranteed. A movie that's not even very scary, Deep Blue Sea, where they make sharks super intelligent, terrified me. Nightmares for weeks. So stupid. I still love that movie. I still watch it a whole bunch. It's so stupid. But I can remember every moment of that movie. So yeah, like the Jawses and stuff like that. Just nope. Not. And there's nothing wrong. Me and the sea don't mix, man. I have tried going scuba diving, going snorkeling. I almost drowned scuba diving, snorkeling. I didn't like it. I've almost gotten bit by eels. I've been pulled out to sea in riptides. Me and the sea are not friends, and that's okay. It's not for everyone. I'm a mountains girl all the way. But I do have my best friend, in fact, who you have known since high school, that loves the ocean. And so I end up by the sea quite a bit. But I am generally, it's not my first inclination. My first inclination is to go into the mountains, go hang out with some bears. That's a joke. I would not hang out with bears. They're wild animals. They're not your friends. They're not your teddy bears. But I generally rather tango with a bear encounter than a shark encounter. Even though I know that's silly. And they're more deadly, if not as deadly as sharks. But the unknown, man, that unknown feeling in the ocean. No, thank you. Only been doing this an hour and a half and I'm starting to get hungry. Being dinner's gonna be good, whatever I make. To eat for dinner. I wish I had that pasta sauce. Forgot to buy more of it. I love good vodka sauce. Italian pasta vodka sauce, which is like a red and a mix of a red and a white sauce. I really enjoy that. Reds are a little bit too acidic for me, so I tend to stay away from red sauce specifically. But I can do a nice mixture of red and white. Ooh, or a cheese quesadilla. Oh, that sounds good too. Maybe I should read Reddit stories on here. Those are super popular and super fun to read, man. Reddit stories are crazy. Generally in my craft I have more to talk about the craft itself, but this is literally just putting beads all over a piece of a sheet based on their color coordination. Like with the Legos, it's all about figuring stuff out and being wowed and happy with little things like finding out your treehouse has little shooting guns. And a swing that's really cool. Stuff like that. But this one's a little bit more self-explanatory. I don't need to explain it that much. It's a little bit easier. I think it's a little bit easier. This one's a little bit more self-explanatory. I don't need to explain it that much. It's a little bit easier. 'Cause I can do it After I finish this one, I'll grab something quick to eat. Okay. I'm gonna take a real quick break and grab something to eat because I am hungry. I will be right back. But I will keep the music on. Not talking to anyone. I changed up where the Ziploc goes just because it's a little bit easier to see, and it still covers the majority of the picture. Um, and it doesn't, I don't have to move all the little boxes every time I move it, so it's a little nicer. We'll see if this works. It might not. You never know until you try something, so. I can always go back to the other way. This is a little sticky, I think, from it moving in this side. This side. It's a little sticky, but not too bad, so open. Just kind of adjusting it, sorry. Oh, okay. Let's start with A's again. This whole side seems to be A's right now. No. Maybe I'll get glasses that don't slide off my head every 20 seconds. That'll be nice. Yeah, this is part of the reason I want new glasses. That, and as a glasses wearer, if you know, I cannot wear sunglasses unless I want to buy a pair of prescription sunglasses, which cost a gazillion dollars. Except, well, they cost as much as your original glasses. Except with pair I wear, I'm going to try them out once I get my new prescription. I've ordered glasses online for forever, so I'm not worried about that part. I've never had a real issue with fit or anything. Because they give you give them all the dimensions and all that stuff. But, I am gonna be doing, but you can get the little sunglass magnetic attachment to it, which is like $35 or something like that, which I am okay. So I have family who would buy really expensive sunglasses, and then they would lose them, or they would put them somewhere, like on the back of a trunk, and end up driving over them, and you're talking about like $300 sunglasses. which before I had to wear glasses, when I was very young, because I ended up with glasses in my teens. But before that, I used to just wear like $5 sunglasses, gas station sunglasses, because I am very clumsy. I know this about myself. I have an issue with tripping, hitting walls, things like that. Always have, always will, I'm sure. Um, I just have always been clumsy. So the idea of spending a whole bunch of money, like something like $200 on a pair of sunglasses I will inevitably lose, break, and or break, and or scratch the crap out of, I absolutely refuse to purchase that, especially if I use them for 10 minutes and then they're gonna be completely gone. Like, I just can't. It doesn't make sense financially for me, so I'm gonna try the parrot. Speaking about clumsy, I just knocked all of the teeth over. I'm not clumsy at all. Knocked the whole tray. Um, so I'm hoping with the pair I wear, because I don't like transitions, you don't have control over the transition, and sometimes it does weird, funky stuff. Um, so I'm not a huge fan. I just want to be able to take them off, put them back on, and I can do that with pair eyewear. So I'm very excited because I know I have sun damage to my eyeballs because I live in California, and every Southern Californian generally ends up getting sun damage to their eyeballs. Very, very common here because we have sun a lot, which I am not a fan of. If you don't notice, I burn. My skin temperature, I just burn. I burn all the time. So the sun is not my friend. I mean, it is my friend because vitamin D and all the good stuff, and makes food for us to eat. Get it, but it can also be a dangerous, dangerous thing. For my very fair skin, it's a dangerous, dangerous thing. I'm just cleaning up a mess. Dots everywhere. I can't believe I didn't off that. Well, I can't believe it because actually this is the first time I've done it so far, so it hasn't been my cat filling it. Someone else. First time I've just totally biffed. But I know I'm gonna do it, so I plan on it, which is why I have these little cups. Because I know if I was in a bag, it just ends up everywhere all the time. Little baggies that comes in, they ended up everywhere. Okay, I think I got that. I think I got him. Man, I wish that would been a little bit more on camera because I was just talking about how lazy and not lazy, how clumsy I was. I'm definitely lazy too, but how clumsy I am. Fill my entire thing with beads. Maybe I'll do some like wire art or something. I've seen like a kit online for that. And I bought something from Etsy. It's a kit for the mosaic thing that I want to do, which will either do next time or the time after. Might be the time after. So I bought something from Etsy, and when I went to check out, it's like, oh yeah, and it's gonna be $20 for shipping. I was like, what? I did not anticipate that amount for shipping. It hurt just a little bit. Probably because it's mosaic, so it's a little bit heavier than your average thing, but man, I was not anticipating. What is wrong with me right now? Oh, we can dump these. Not all over the place. Into the green canister. Thank you. I will be happy when this is done because it's a lot of leaning over and stuff, which is not the best for the bath. And I'm old, you gotta remember I'm super old, so I'm not super old, but I am not a spring chicken, so my back will stiffen up from just doing the same thing over and over and over again in the same position. And I think that's actually anyone. Although, if I were 20, I think I would bounce back a little bit quicker from it. On to E. I had my green tea. When I went and got a quick snack, I grabbed my V8 Energy. That's right, that's what I have instead of coffee. I have my V8 Energy, generally speaking, and maybe that's why I'm a little bit more clumsy. Got some B12s running through me, some green tea, some black tea, some Zavas. I was so busy this morning doing my morning Sunday chores, and streaming in the afternoon is kind of my, like, I guess you could call it habit stacking. It's like, oh, I clean in the morning and then I get to stream in the afternoon and get to do the fun project-y stuff, right? Because I really enjoy doing crafting, but you gotta do the day-to-day, otherwise your house is stinky, and you don't want to live in a stinky house. So, I was doing chores earlier. Yeah, I guess I do habit stack on Sunday to get that stuff done. Interesting. But I was vacuuming and running around, and normally I have, like, you know, you have your morning, like, cup of coffee, and I have my, I do AG1, because it does seem to help me. But I do AG1, so I have my AG1 this morning, and then normally, every day I have about 2 V8 energy drinks, because I'm getting a serving of vegetables, because I'm not good at eating vegetables, so I have green juice and things that have servings of vegetables in it, despite me, because I'm just not good at it, and I've come to realize that I'm just not good at it, so I try to do what I can, but I don't eat enough vegetables. And as you get older, you realize why it's so important that you do, because you can get things like rickets and stuff, and it's not good. So I want to prevent getting that, and doing good stuff for my body, and, you know, and a lot of the stuff that it has in it, I'm deficient in, so, you know, had all those lab tests. One of the things I started taking that it comes with is the D vitamin, and I had blood tests by my doctor, you know, not I didn't just go to Joe Schmo on the street. I had blood tests done that said that I was severely deficient, and so I started doing AG1 because I knew I was deficient in other stuff, and I did AG1. I'm also extremely anemic. Being a vegetarian, you are susceptible to becoming anemic. And again, I don't eat enough vegetables. Part of that is my bite is so bad. So it's hard to like rip apart vegetables like a normal person, like a salad and stuff. Plus, I don't care what you say, salads don't taste good unless you douse them in things. At least not for my taste buds, so I have a problem eating vegetables. And so I started doing the AG1 thing. It's expensive. It's too expensive. I wish it was cheaper. But I started doing it, and it came with D vitamins. And actually, last time I went to the doctor, got blood work done. The deficiency in D vitamins had gone away. I was no longer deficient, so I started doing that, and it changed. I now take. I think what I found out was that I was I don't metabolize pills as well as the average folk. Like I've malabsorption or something like that, because I was taking regular D vitamin in pill form and it just wasn't doing anything. So once I took it in the liquid form that they supplied, all of a sudden it was doing great things for me. So I did the D vitamin, and then now I've gone to iron from my anemia. I have to go back and get checked again. But when I went back, I'm now taking a liquid iron to help with that. So sometimes it is the form of what you are getting that is the problem, because you might still be deficient because your body's just not absorbing it. And so I've kind of corrected that. I just have to go find an omega. I think that's an omega that is omega-3. That's vegetarian, and because most omegas are fish, but you can get vegan or vegetarian vegan versions of it that are not fish-based but algae-based. And so I do that, generally speaking, but I've only found those in pill form. I haven't really looked for because I definitely know I need more omegas in my diet too. But it's just an relatively interesting thought that I didn't know about until I was much older, that your body just may not be absorbing even what you're putting into it. So might be why you're deficient. And again, this is with doctors looking at it and going, oh, okay. And I think the D vitamin, because when you have a lack of D vitamins, you can become depressed. I think it was compounding my depression by having that lack, so I think I've been better off since I have switched over to that more bioavailable liquid form of D vitamin for me. So I think it's helped combat some of the seasonal depression that can happen. So my depression isn't like, here's the 4 different types of depression that you're suffering from. A D vitamin depression, this depression and that depression. So I think it's helped a lot with me controlling my body being able to handle. It's your standard depression. I don't know. It worked for me, that's all I'm saying. And it was interesting just that I had to find out that, regular pills don't really work as well as other things. For my body, at least. It's interesting, they have new tests that you can take that genetic marker test that will theoretically tell you what the best type of drug you could be on. For, like, let's say you have depression and anxiety, but it'll tell you if you should be on this type of drug or that type of drug. There's some genetic testers that show, apparently, um, what's better for you. So that's really interesting and cool. Got a little science, man. Real cool findings, real cool stuff to help people. Okay. On to J now. um watercolors on watercolor colors on the cheap at Michael's because they were doing some clearance thing. It's really cool. So I might do something with watercolor soon. I've been watching someone do watercolor lately, which is why it sparked my interest. So I was like, oh, that's neat. I've never really jumped into watercolor, so I've always been an acrylic painter more myself. It is flinging them everywhere. What the heck? Is up next. Yeah. Losing speed everywhere. It's okay. feel like I should like listen to the State of the Union or something. It's funny. Crafting while listening to political stuff. I mean, it's relatively important. It does tell you what the plan is from our commander-in-chief. And I did grow up in a politically aware family. It wasn't like, no matter how you voted, we were just like, you gotta vote kind of family. So we would, when I first got the ability to vote, we sat down as a family and just discussed everything that was on the ballot. And I think it was a really great thing for my parents to do with me as a kid. And we just had like civil political discourse about it. Like, we don't always agree, but it was just all about the importance of doing it and making it a family ritual, which I thought was really cool. And then the one thing I wish we had done as a family was sit down and budget together. This is how much money we have coming in. This is what we have to spend it on. That's the only thing I wish we would have done as a family as well. It would have been, or at least my mom, if she had taken, like, I should have showed interest too. But those are the things they don't teach you, you know? Whee! One of these songs that out of the box. Is it? Probably. I think pretty drop. Wise guys. No idea what that was. Ow. I think I like it the other way a little bit better. Okay. R&B time. Man, go back to the 90s. Sorry for hitting the mic. It's also very weird. Very, very weird. Cool beans. Next section. This is a whisper one that makes sense for the game, but not for listening to. To the T's. Let's see if I build them all over again. A little bit. pink ones for some reason aren't as um, they're flatter than they don't they just seem flatter, I guess. The other ones. The whole top is like Y's and E's for the most part, other than the flowers and a little bit of I here and there. So I'm using a lot of the Y's and T's, and that's why there's so many. Eyes. This side. On to L. L is for the way you make me scream. That sounds weird. That's not odd at all. Exact electricity. want to go where it should. Okay. Next up is E. I don't think there's there's a couple. E is not a pretty color on here. It's like a funky red, like red brown, but it's actually B is quite pretty. Yeah, crafting cam. And we're back on. More than sexy stuff. Yeah, time for some good. This is other than talking more than I normally do. I normally don't talk. Um, Change the mix. It would need less than I usually pour out, but I forgot. Time for Z. It kind of makes sense. If you just want the pretty, sparkly picture. But you don't want to, I mean, because this is like hours of putting individuals on it. Piano part in the song is wicked. Very old terms like wicked. I'm gonna use that outside. Sometimes I'm teetering on insanity with this project. This definition of I don't even know if it's the definition of insanity, and we're not talking in any mental health or legal way, but doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And luckily, I'm not expecting a different result, but man, does it feel very tedious. The only thing that's cool is I do feel progression, because, oh, I'm got the eyes done, cool, like, I got this part done, I got, section by section. The only thing that kind of saves me is when you sit back and, like, look, you're like, oh, getting there. Phase over here. On this one. I think that's it for those. Now it's tea time. Well, that sounds... Now it's time to place down peas, which is a relatively pretty blue color. Kind of muted for my liking, but... I don't think there's a ton. There's one more. Whereas the next color is going to be tea, and there's a ton of teas. We're getting... The outside is definitely teed up. Yep, that's right. I'm using all my puns. That's it on the teas. Way too many, as per usual. Fly time. Ew. La 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 la. What is it? Oh, we need more music just for a couple more minutes. Ba ba ba. Happy birthday. No dissidents, thank you. I need to do interpretive dance to make this more interesting. I'm kidding. I actually do find it very relaxing to do stuff like this. Pull some vase. Yeah, baby. Awesome for you. I'll probably finish this row and then call it a day for today, but we still have a little bit to go. We'll probably be finishing this offline. Of course you give up. Don't give up on me now, camera. Come back to me. Come back. Oh, good. For some O's. Some X's and O's. Just kidding. Although that person's father is in my favorite kids movie of all time. Which if you've never watched Surf Ninjas, I suggest you change that. It's an amazing parody movie. Yay! Must throw all these on the ground accidentally. Inner car. Was. That's the end of that row. So I think we are done with this section, which is great. Move this up a little bit. I can work on it off stream. And listen to my book. Those kind of things. Theoretically. But I will do that off stream as well. But anyhow, I had a wonderful time doing this thing, and I'll post the results. I'll probably show it off next Sunday. I'm hoping I'll have the matting to go around it, and it'll be in a frame, since it is going to be a gift. And then I will see you next Wednesday, where we pick up with Sons of the Forest. I'm not sure what we're going to be doing in that game. There's still a lot to... We have to find key cards to get into places, so... we got to finish printing that sled that's half printed. And we got to look at more of the island, and now I think we'll be able to do that a little bit easier, since we have the foldable paper airplane thing. It's not a paper airplane, but the little glider. There we go. We have the glider, we have some vehicles, we got some stuff. We got lights in our base, so we're doing pretty well. So we are now... So we'll see where we go on Wednesday, and we'll be doing it on Friday as well. Those are our 2 gaming days, and then we'll be back next week with a new project. Not sure what it'll be yet. It might be the mosaic, if it gets shipped in time. If not, it'll be something else, like a sun catcher or something like that. So, and I think it'll be something else. But we'll see. Anyhow, I will talk to you guys on Wednesday. Have a lovely rest of your week, and see you then.